Hi, I'm Kat, and in honor of my favorite holiday, Valentine's Day, I am doing another heart friendship bracelet tutorial. This one is the outlined hearts. I have another video on the filled in hearts that you might have already seen before, and I'll link that below. It's actually a really simple bracelet, so if you're just getting started making friendship bracelets, this is a fun one to try out. This is the pattern I'm going to be using for this bracelet. It is 1112 from friendshipbracelets.net. Really simple, and it's really similar to the other heart pattern that I did, but as you can see, this one has the filled in hearts. So to get started, I am going to cut all of my string, and I am just going to cut 2 of each of my colors. So I'm going to be using 2 colors in this. So I've cut 2 strings of my darker thread and then 2 strings of my lighter thread, and I've cut each of those to somewhere between 65 and 70 inches. Then I'm going to grab the ends of all of my strings, hold them together, pull them through, find the middle, and tie a knot. So that's done, and then I will clip it down and arrange my strings. And this is how you arrange your strings. You will want, in this case I'm using the darker color as the background color. That would be this color, and then the outline of the hearts in the lighter color. So I know these are pretty similar, but hopefully you can tell which is which. So you have 2, and these are just laid out in a mirror image. You have 2 of your background color, the outermost strings, and then working in, you have 2 of your outline color, then 2 more of your background color, and the center 2 are the outline color. There are 8 steps to this pattern, and once you do the 8th, you'll simply start over at the first. And on this first row, you're going to work from left to right, grabbing the first 2 strings, do a forward, backward knot. If you don't know what that is, you should go back and watch my video on how to do the 4 types of knots, and maybe practice a candy stripe and a chevron before you get started on this one. So since that was a forward, backward, those strings do not switch places. Then grabbing the next 2 strings in line, do a forward knot. Those 2 will switch. Grab the next 2, do a backward knot. Those 2 switch places. And then with the last 2, do a backward, forward knot. And those 2 will not switch places. Moving on to the next row, since this is a 1-2 pattern, you're going to take out the 2 outermost strings. Just set those aside, ignore them. You're not going to be using them in this row. Then you'll grab the next 2, which are 2 of your lighter strings. Do a forward knot. Grab the next 2, which are the center ones. Do another forward knot. And the last 2 in this row, we'll do a backward knot. Now on to row number 3, you're going to bring in those 2 outermost strings again, and make sure you arrange your strings in the proper order so that your pattern doesn't get off track at this point. And these are going to pair off again. Now for row number 3, grab your first 2 working from left to right, do a backward knot. Those 2 strings will switch place. Next one, do a forward knot. Next, do a backward knot. And then another forward knot. That is the end of row number 3. Now moving on to number 4, you will take out your outermost strings. Pair off your strings again. Grab the first 2, do a forward knot. Center 2, do a forward knot. And last 2, do a backward knot. That's the end of row number 4. Bring back in your outer strings, pair everything off, and starting row number 5, grab your first 2 and do a forward knot. And if you laid out your strings the same way I did, that is light over dark on that one. Grab the next 2, another forward knot, and this one will be dark over light. Just to give you an idea of if you're on the right track. And that knot flipped over. I'm just going to pull that. Do a backward knot. And the last one is another backward knot. That's the end of row number 5. Move on to number 6. Take out your outermost strings, pair everything off, working from left to right, do a backward, working from left to right, do a forward knot, with the center one, do a forward knot, and with the last one, do a backward knot. That's the end of row number 6. You'll bring your strings back in for row number 7. Pair everything off. You can see our pattern starting to take shape. For row number 7, working from left to right as usual, do a forward backward, and that would be dark over light. If you laid out your strings the same way I did. Next one, forward knot. Next one, backward knot. the last one is backward, forward. And for the last row in the pattern, which is number 8, take out those strings again. Pair everything off. With the first set, do a backward, forward. Next two, which are just the light ones, forward. And with the last two, do a forward, backward. And that is the end of the pattern. So from this point, you will simply start over and repeat everything you already did. So the next row, you would bring back in your outer strings, pair everything off like so. And you'll notice that your strings have landed back in the original color order that you started in. So you'll repeat that first row and it will start the pattern all over, and just keep going until your bracelet is as long as you want it. When you've gotten your bracelet as long as you want it, separate the ends of the strings into 2 sections and tie them each off with knots. Then braid each section. Then tie off the ends. And trim the excess. And that is your finished bracelet.